right, welcome to Last Week at Tassi. This is airing on a Monday, and this has changed because my YouTube schedule is almost non-existent now. And so I have to adapt and do what I can because I have a 6-week-old as of today. That would be Madeline, who is right down there. I am bouncing her with my foot in a little thing. My wife's at an appointment. And you try to fit in things where you can, and you hope she doesn't start crying during this video. I could do this on a lot of topics, but I just wanted to do This Week at Tassi because I had to miss it last Friday. And there's some fun stuff to talk about. And then obviously the big Destiny launch is tomorrow. I will try and do what I can about that, including play it, because yet another game. You can't pause. I will start with Destiny today because there was one of my favorite stories, I think, that I've ever written about Destiny. Certainly one of my favorite headlines. This was about the fact that in the collector's edition of the Edge of Fate, there is a bunch of lore from Lodi, the new glasses guy who's been pulled through time. He used to work from some sort of government agency out of Chicago. That the whole thing reminds me of Control, the video game. If you've seen that, very surrealist. There is an examination of whether there was a supernatural influence in the killing of JFK. The implication that the Nine may have been involved in that. It's a whole report where it's like, well, we couldn't find any evidence, but there was all this weird behavior. And the idea is that, the Nine have been watching us for so long. Like, this is obviously pre-Golden Age. This is, our current world. And just the idea that they had an influence in that, which I thought was pretty funny by itself. Scarrow pointed me out to this in the first place, so credit to him. He also mentioned that there was a possibility that Graviton Lance had been used to assassinate JFK, where I'm like, what does that mean? If you look at the document, it talks about how the tissue was pulled in before being expanded out in a way that does not happen with a normal bullet. What it does happen with is a gun that shoots micro black holes as bullets. So that is very much in the lore of Graviton Lance. Also in the lore of Graviton Lance is that it's a weapon that we know practically nothing about that was found in old Chicago randomly. And that is where this organization is based off of. There's another theory that Lodi himself may have been the one to kill JFK. This is like kind of really been expanded into the community. The narrative director Allison chimed in and was very coy about this and said things are inconclusive. Wink, wink. Bife did a whole video about how Lodi did not kill JFK, and I will declare him a Fed now because I can't believe he's a part of the deep state. Very fun. Go read that story, read the lore and stuff. It's a very fun little thing ahead of the Edge of Fate, and things get much more serious as we talk about the fate of Destiny. Hi. Oh, hello. You have something to say? I don't know if the mic picks her up, but it will if she starts crying. This is maybe a shorter video. Another story I wrote about this week was the release of Mecca Break, which is this PvP, sometimes VE, lives game that I was hearing a lot of positive things about. A lot of people were starting to recommend it to me after the beta, but launch here has been interesting. It does not seem to be kind of the big launch in this new grand PvP game that it should have been. It did have really good initial numbers, and the numbers currently are still positive. It launched with 120,000 concurrents on Steam. It's obviously on other platforms. It has its own launcher. It's on Xbox, which is great. However, in just under 2 weeks, or no, it was just over a week, it lost something like 60% of its players. And I just checked back now, and it has gone down in player count every single day. I think one day it went up by 200, and that was on Sunday, which is supposed to be a weekly high. It has gone through 2 weekends now, just consistently losing players. It's down to 40,000 now, so it's lost about 2/3 of its player base. What seems to be happening here is, people still do say good things about its gameplay and how it works on the PvP side. However, there's a lot of controversy now about its microtransactions, the cosmetics for a game that is very much interested in cosmetics with its, very attractive players who people want to buy skins for and stuff. There's skin packs that are $47, almost $50, which you're slamming people with that right up front there, and that is less than ideal. Um, in addition to that, there's an auction house, which anytime you get a game with an auction house, it's a little bit of alarm bells, especially, some established games can work really well with that, but not so much others. And launching with one up front is tricky. And I think you're going to run into a lot of potential issues with that at the beginning because you need the kinks to be worked out. A game that launches, a week and only has one chance to make a first impression, I don't know if that's something you actually want to be launching with. That seems to be kind of another issue here. There's a whole debate about, oh, well, this Gooner game is, failing and whatever. The whole point of this like Gooner game, woke game thing is like the game, it's got to be good. Like that's it. Like we can talk about character designs or whatever. Like Concord's bad game, ugly designs, not just even like characters being ugly, just ugly aesthetic. Stellar Blade, attractive protagonist, great game. Love that action game. It just the game's got to be good, and this doesn't seem like it's going to be necessarily good enough here. Hi. We will move into a pair of Xbox stories. This is from a little longer ago. There was this big debate. First, it was about... all right, awkward cuts. So, speeding the rest of this along, going to wrap this up quickly. Because, look, I tried. She's getting fussy. My wife's going to be coming home. And, yeah, back to just normal writing without needing to be on camera. Xbox said a lot of things that did not happen. I wrote a whole article about how they keep saying things that do not end up being true, and a lot of those come from Phil Spencer's. They say one thing, do the other. How are we really ever supposed to trust Xbox from here on out? And that led into a question about Xbox Game Pass profitability, and there was this whole thing that came out about how Xbox is profitable only when you consider everything outside of first-party development, which is not really the whole thing. I give up. That's a wrap. She needs to eat. And yeah, so last thing I was going to cover, big game I'm playing is Dune. I will put Dune down for Destiny tomorrow. Hopefully this comes off as not awful and at least somewhat endearing. I'm trying, and you won't see much YouTube for me for a little while, and this is why. I love her. She's great. But yeah, so we'll be mostly writing, and I will be back on YouTube periodically when I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.